Have you ever wondered why, despite all your efforts, it feels impossible to get rid of debt? Why, even when some extra money comes in, it slips away like water running through your fingers? This is a question that torments thousands of people, especially after the age of 40, when commitments increase, responsibilities pile up, and the weight of time running out to finally organize your finances feels heavier than ever. But the truth is, getting out of debt is not just a matter of mathematics. It is, above all, a matter of mindset, behavior, and how our brain has been trained to deal with money throughout life. Science has already proven that financial decisions are much more tied to emotions than to logic. We are rarely rational when it comes to money. The human brain is programmed to seek immediate rewards, even if small, instead of waiting for bigger rewards in the future. That's why, so often, buying something now feels more tempting than saving that same amount to invest or pay off debt. This phenomenon is known as hyperbolic discounting, a sophisticated term that explains our tendency to prioritize immediate pleasure over long-term benefits. But what, in fact, are the damages caused by living in debt? Let's lay them out clearly. First, the obvious financial damage. Every dollar paid in interest is a dollar that could have been working for you. Second, emotional damage. Debt doesn't just weigh on your wallet, it weighs on your mind. It generates anxiety, insomnia, the fear of opening the mailbox or answering the phone. Third, damage to relationships. How many families argue daily because of money? Studies show that financial issues are among the leading causes of divorce worldwide. Fourth, loss of opportunities. When you are in debt, you don't have the freedom to invest in yourself, take a course, travel, or seize a new business opportunity. Fifth, damage to self-esteem. Always being in debt makes a person feel incapable, like a failure, ashamed. And after the age of 40, this feeling of failure can be even more painful, because many compare themselves to friends or colleagues who seem to be in a better situation. And look, we're not talking about exaggeration here. The media has already reported extreme cases. People who earn high salaries, way above average, and yet still sink into debt. Soccer players who received millions and ended their careers with nothing. Successful entrepreneurs who couldn't control their spending and lost everything. This proves that the problem isn't just about how much money comes in, but mainly about how it is managed and the meaning we attach to it. Now, why is it so important to break this cycle? Because the consequences of not doing so can be devastating. Imagine reaching 60 years old, still paying off debts from 20 years ago. Imagine depending on relatives or on government assistance because you never managed to organize your own finances. Imagine seeing the dream of a peaceful retirement turn into nights filled with worry. But the good news is that the opposite is also true. When you decide to break this cycle, the future opens up. You can regain freedom, peace of mind, lighter relationships, and most importantly, rebuild confidence in yourself. And believe me, it is never too late to begin. There is also a scientific reason for this difficulty in changing. The brain operates in automatic patterns. Everything we do repeatedly creates strong neural connections, real pathways in the mind. If you've spent 20 or 30 years repeating the same pattern of spending more than you earn, buying on installments, taking out loans, it becomes a deeply rooted habit. And habits don't change with willpower alone. They require awareness, strategy, and the repetition of new behaviors. Joe Dispenza, in his studies on neuroscience, explains that the brain is moldable. It can be reprogrammed. This means that even at 40, 50, or 60 years old, you can teach your mind to create new financial patterns. But for that to happen, you must start now. Perhaps you've heard phrases like, "Money doesn't grow on trees," "The rich are dishonest," or "If you were born poor, you'll die poor." These beliefs, often inherited from family, operate as a silent background that influences your decisions. Napoleon Hill, in the classic Think and Grow Rich, stated that wealth begins with a state of mind, not with the amount of money in the bank. If your mind is trapped in beliefs of scarcity, it will be nearly impossible to create abundance, no matter how hard you work. And here's a question for you to reflect on. What pattern have you been repeating unconsciously? Buying things to impress others, using your credit card as if it were an extension of your salary, taking on debt believing that someday a financial miracle will solve everything? These are common traps, but they need to be recognized in order to be broken. Without this awareness, any attempt to get out of debt will be like trying to dry ice with a towel. Published studies show that people who develop simple self-control strategies, such as waiting 24 hours before making an unplanned purchase, are able to drastically reduce impulsive spending. It may seem like a small strategy, but in the long run, it creates an enormous impact. It's like teaching the brain to pause, reflect, and choose consciously. And what do you gain by breaking this cycle? First, peace of mind. Sleeping without the fear of collection calls is priceless. Second, freedom of choice. You'll be able to decide whether to invest, travel, help someone, or even change careers without debt being a constant weight. Third, higher self-esteem. Feeling capable of managing your own money well is one of the foundations of self-confidence. Fourth, healthier relationships. Without the burden of financial pressure, there is more room for love, partnership, and harmony. Fifth, legacy. Yes, because by organizing your financial life, you set an example for your children, grandchildren, and even friends. You show that it is possible to start over and win, regardless of age. And to inspire you even more, let's remember some well-known stories. Oprah Winfrey, before becoming one of the most influential women in the world, lived in debt and without prospects. Walt Disney went bankrupt before building his empire. Thomas Edison was considered bankrupt several times before creating his inventions. The message these examples leave us is clear. Debt does not define your destiny. It only shows where you are right now. What defines your future are the choices you make from this point forward. So, I invite you to reflect. What are you willing to change today so you don't repeat the same cycle tomorrow? What habits do you need to let go of? What beliefs must be replaced? The first step can be as simple as deciding not to make an impulse purchase. It could be creating the habit of writing down every expense. It could be seeking knowledge through books, courses, or financial education programs. The important thing is to begin. In conclusion, never forget this. Getting out of debt is possible, even after 40, even after years of mistakes, even when it seems too late. The path involves self-knowledge, discipline, new choices, and above all, believing that you deserve to live without financial chains holding you back. Because prosperity is not just about having extra money. It is about having peace, freedom, and the chance to build the life you truly desire. And if you have made it this far, you've already taken the first step. You've brought awareness to your reality. Now, turn that awareness into action, because the future doesn't wait. It begins today. Did you like this video? Then you know what to do. Hit like, leave a comment, share it, and subscribe. Remember, this content is just the beginning. In the link below, in the comments, you'll find something special to keep growing.